Any civilization is only as strong as the soil it's built under. So here we are, turning your grass into a garden. Hey dude, turning our grass into a garden. There's the garden, there's the grass. Hey, see, he's got his tool, dirty hands. That's the way to get it done. Over here, we're getting ready to show everybody a little bit about worm castings and mycorrhizal inoculant. We've been using our mycorrhizal inoculant here from Humboldt Ag Supply. Beneficial biotics, that's a beneficial root fungi, different species to help promote root development. It attaches itself to the roots and colonizes in the root zone to build up beneficial microbes and a synchronistic system in your garden. It helps the plants absorb the nutrients by breaking nutrients down and delivering them directly to specific areas of the plant. Hey, you paying attention over here? We've got some starts here of some mixed greens, spinach, as well as some collard greens. We got them started a few weeks back. We might want to leave them go if we were somewhere else or at a different time, but we want to get these ones planted right away. But first, we're going to add in some vermicast, pure worm castings. And we've already added in the mycorrhizal inoculant. We've watered that in again today to the root zone of the plant. So when we transplant them, they'll have a fresh inoculation of the bacteria and fungi to help grow healthy roots and absorb nutrients. That's what mycorrhizal does. And we've been using it on these from the beginning. We've done plenty of side-by-sides with mycorrhiza to see if it actually works, or to see how well it works. We highly recommend Humboldt Ag Supply mycorrhizal inoculant. As you can see, 1.5 teaspoons makes a gallon of water of the solution, and that is about as concentrated as you'll find. And this, I believe this bag retails somewhere around $25, which is the best deal you'll find on mycorrhizal in the industry. North Coast Horticulture Supply, Farm Direct has you covered on that anytime you're in need. Yeah, so that's a little bit about mycorrhizal. Next, I'm going to talk to you a little more about vermicast and what are pure worm castings. Why would you want to use worm castings, right? Right here you got nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. So as you can see, it's got a little nitrogen, even less phosphorus, and even less potassium. So nutrients are one reason you want to use worm castings. Why would you want to use these worm castings? They're OMRI listed, OMRI certified. We've sourced them for you. They're aged worm castings. A lot of worm castings you'll buy are not aged. They're just fresh worm castings, which are good as well. But these ones have been aged 3 to 5 years, and they're very stable. Worm castings are about a 7.0 balanced pH, which is nice to add to a garden. Worm castings provide a zone for healthy plant growth, root development, nutrient uptake, and beneficial biology. Worm castings are something nice to add, and today I'll show you how to add worm castings to plants that you've already planted and to add them to little mounds into your garden for plants you haven't planted yet. These are beautiful vermicast castings brought to us by Southern Organics and Supply. They're OMRI certified. You can find these at North Coast Horticulture Supply here locally. We worked hard on sourcing these castings for you because of the biology in these castings and how well these are broken down and work. Yeah, why don't I crack this bag open here and I'll show you what's inside. This stuff's been aged for years and it's fine and clean and pure. Tiny pieces, as you can see. It's dried out pretty nicely too, which is something a lot of times castings will be wet. Now our garden had a ton of worms in it, so there's plenty of natural castings in there, but we're going to top dress with this and blend it into the soil so that we get a little more immediate fertilization to the crops once we transplant them. And then we're going to top dress on some plants that we already planted, just so we can show you how to effectively top dress as well as add to the soil prior to plant. It's okay to plant right in some of these castings directly. You want to mix it a little bit because it does hold a lot of moisture and it will be kind of wet. So castings are best mixed with other soils, and that's what we're going to show you how to do here, turning our grass into a garden. All right, so we're back here. We're just gonna add some of this vermicast worm castings into a row here that we have not yet planted in. This row has nothing planted in it yet. We just mounded it up like we showed you on our previous videos. So I'm going down the center of this mound. I'm gonna create a little divot because we're just gonna come back and fill some worm castings in there. As you can see, there's some rocks in this soil here. I'm gonna rake those out. I'm just putting a little divot down the middle of this entire row, a little trench. That's going to allow me to put a nice little swath of worm castings right into that. Since we turned this soil up, it's really nice. There's not very many clumps. There are some rocks still, but you just take the rocks out of the way. clear them out. We're getting ready to put some seedlings into this soil, so we want to make sure it's nice and clean. Right, Caspian? So if I just reach in here, we can see what this stuff looks like. You could just sprinkle it down the middle, grab it with your hands. Gonna put one nice bead down the middle. Not too much, not too little. This one bag here should probably be enough to do most of this garden, really. See that? So there's a nice, say, inch layer on there so far. Maybe I'll come back and add a little bit more. So we're adding about 1 to 2 inches, probably maybe an inch of worm castings. You know, you can't really overdo it as long as you're mixing and not growing straight into it. Some people mix worm castings as one of their primary sources of fertilizer altogether, but in this case, we're doing the same, and it's also going to be something to encourage microbial growth. So now that we got the castings in there, we don't want to turn them too much. I want them to stay right in there for the roots of the plants, but we're going to turn it just a little bit. I'm digging my trowel a little bit deeper into the ground on this, So it's kind of naturally blending it into a little bit of a deeper spot. There's a million ways to do this stuff, but this is one that works. There you go. Now this soil right here is ready to be planted in. We'll show you how to do that next. Make sure to water in all of your transplants and seedlings with the microbial inoculant. You want to water in your plants with that. Once again, we use this mycorrhiza, which you should always use mycorrhiza with plants. A beneficial root fungus. It attaches itself to the roots and colonizes in the root zone to help uptake your fertilizer and keep a balance, a symbiotic balance in your root zone, creating, you know, sustainable soil. You're building soil. That's what we're doing here. We're investing into our future of our crops. Any civilization is only as strong as the soil it's built under. So I'm taking these seedlings right here, and I'm gonna plant them into this row. They're greens. They're all different greens. We got spinach, got some mixed greens, some collard greens. This is the same row that we just amended castings into. Now we're gonna come back and put these greens in here. Now a lot of times you might wait till your greens are bigger than this, or you might use seedlings that are more established or something, but we started some with seeds, we're putting some in the ground. We're showing on these videos and just experimenting with what works here. We're right on the coast as well, so typically we don't get a lot of hot weather crops here. So planting those cucumbers is an experiment. These greens here will grow great on the coast for sure. Done it many times before, and we'll do it again. Whenever you're planting your transplants, just be really delicate. The smaller they are, the more attention they need. You just want to take your transplants, make a little divot. There's lots of ways to do it. You can use that. Use your fingers, grab one of your rooted spinach crops here. A lot of times it's nice, you can push them out. Oh, or this one's ripping. That's okay, these seed flats are a little older and they're kind of wet. You want to let your cuttings dry out a lot of times before you go to transplanting. So there we go, real delicately transplanted our spinach there. Once we get these in, we're gonna water them real quick to make sure everything, and we're gonna keep on watering, especially for the next week or so till the roots are established. Daily watering, water around each plant, make sure it's getting the proper water. The castings will help hold some of that moisture in and provide some beneficial root fungus as well. We're gonna add some of this as we go. So I'm gonna hit that time lapse and all right, so I've added a bag of these worm castings to the garden here. I used a couple different tools just to show you the difference between doing it by hand or doing it with a hand hoe or a garden rake, or this little handheld tool here that's got a spade and a fork on it, whatever you want to call that, or just using your hands. And after doing that, to be honest with you, on this size of a garden, if you get down there on your knees and use your hands, you're really going to have the best results if that's the way you like to work. The bigger the garden, the more tools you might need. But at this point, we built these mounds up and we want everything to stay intact as much as possible. And we took time to pull all the rocks out. So using the tools, you have to then to go sort back through the rocks and the roots and stuff as they come back up on top. But it doesn't hurt to work the soil around either way. But to be honest, for me, just getting down there on my knees and having my hands in the dirt is a big part of the therapy here in the garden. But it's also it just works better. So don't forget to get your hands dirty. Get out there, get into the garden, enjoy this beautiful sunny day. Brown thumb.